What's going on, everybody? This is Mike, and this is Serial at Night, episode number 52. And boy, do we have an episode, that's for sure. So, a couple things, just to get right in, well, to get into a couple things right away. Topics for today, I'm going to talk about why I'm staying off of social media for the most part. And then we're going to talk about cloud gaming and Stadia. Why everybody always needs to be so angry at every gaming announcement, and a variety of other items. Sorry, just adjusting something here. So, to get into it, the social media piece of it, it got to the point for me with the gaming community where every conversation, every topic turned into an argument. And a lot of that even started because of my approach to a lot of things. There was a time where I like to be positive and engage in social media with the community in a way that was positive and fun, and great conversation came out of it. And that still was the case with a few people, with quite a few people, actually. I've met a lot of really great people online. The problem is that the absolute asinine comments that would come in and just the topics that I would see and the news stories that would come out, like the entire gaming coverage and the reaction to gaming coverage started to put me in a place where I was becoming a problem. I was also being negative, and I started to look at it and went, I can't have a conversation in social media in a way where I can't be an ass about it. And so that's why I decided to get off the internet. And I made a brief comeback today just to make a couple comments about cloud gaming, and it was immediately met with, how are you going to feel when this happens? And it's like, dude, I'm giving my opinion on how I would feel. Like, everybody has to be the smartest guy in the room, and I'm just over it because it's making me an ass. Well, it's not making me an ass. I'm kind of an ass anyway, but I don't want to engage with the community in that way, and I don't want to be a part of the problem. And so I'm taking a step back of it, off of it, until I can come back in a way that, I'm not just being an asshole with every take that I have. And so, so that's where that is. It's just, if I'm going to be on social media, I want to be a positive presence, and it got to the point where I couldn't be, people interacting with me couldn't be, and it got a little old. So that said, we had a big announcement last week with Google Stadia. Everybody's got an opinion on this thing, and so I figured, well, what the fuck? I might as well have my opinion too. And so here's the deal. Google, everybody knows what it is. Google announced their gaming streaming platform, and for the most part, I actually think it looks pretty attractive as far as a starting point goes, and a jump-off point into streaming. Now, I'm going to focus on Google first, and then get into my opinions on Microsoft, Sony, and even Steam a little later. But since Google got to announcing first, I think it's a pretty pivotal moment in gaming, and we'll see where it goes from here. But I want to first touch on one thing with Google, because some of the things that I've seen have been really around, a lot of the negativity, and there's been a lot of it, has really been around some of the speculation that people have in regard to streaming, right? So there's a lot of negativity going on based on Nothing, right? There's nothing to even really react to except from what we've seen from Google. So everybody starts to jump to conclusions like everybody does. And they break out the old jump to conclusions mat. And then they start reacting to these theories that they have made up in their head with really nothing to really react to. And some of the things that we have to react to are really kind of pretty light, right? And so I'm going to start going down some of the speculations, questions, and concerns, some of the things I've heard. I'm going to start jamming down these things one by one, and we'll see where I end up here. First things first, number one out of the gate has been internet infrastructure. What about the internet infrastructure in the United States, right? There's data caps, there's internet speeds, net neutrality, where people live, in the country, where data is accessible, so on and so forth. So let's start with just that. Not everybody in this country or in the world or in the countries that they're going to release to has great internet. This is really a pretty simple one to answer. Then those people at this point aren't customers. Right? It's, I sympathize with not having good internet with wherever you may live. But if you don't have good internet where you live, Google Stadia is not going to be the only problem that you have. You're probably not streaming 4K on Netflix. You're probably not streaming 4K on Hulu. You're probably having trouble downloading, 90 gig patches or 40 gig patches, right? Like the internet infrastructure problem for people that don't have good access. It's not exclusive to Stadia, right? It's just a dumb argument. Right? Like, okay, then those people unfortunately aren't customers. Pretty simple, right? So that brings us to data caps, right? Mention data caps. Data caps, yes, data caps can be a problem. Yep. And for people that have data caps, they probably also have problems with Netflix and Hulu and patch downloads and system updates and all these other things, right? Data caps can be an issue. It's not exclusive to Stadia, right? Like everybody's using these things that are common issues for a variety of platforms, and they're making it an issue with Stadia. Now, I get it. If you're playing a video game, you might play a video game for 100 hours for one video game. Are people going to, watch 100 hours of Netflix in a month? I don't know. I mean, we have Netflix on quite often, or Hulu or whatever it might be, just from sports to kids shows to whatever. I don't have cable anymore. I don't have data caps. And I'd have to look into this, but I think, this goes to net neutrality. That's the new buzzword, or it's the buzzword that reared its head again. Well, what about net neutrality? Well, Google can come in and now they're going to fight the good fight for net neutrality. No, they're not. If anything, net neutrality regulations being removed is a bigger benefit to Google than it being in place. Now Google can go into these ISPs and basically make a deal with them, and this is probably good for everybody. Whether you want to believe it or not, can go in and make a deal with them and say, we're going to pay the ISP X amount of money, so anything streamed through Google or for Google Stadia isn't an issue. And I could be wrong. I might be wrong, but I think Netflix and Hulu already do this, right? Everyone's big worry was they're going to pass that on to the customer. And maybe they have in some way, but I haven't seen it. Not at least not where I'm at. And I'm in Minnesota. I'm in a fairly rural part of Minnesota, to be honest with you. And I still have gigabit. It's like $100 a month, something like that. No data caps. But if you did have a data cap, if you had Comcast, right? I think they have a 200 gig data cap or something like that, or a 2 terabyte data cap, whatever fuck it might be. Yeah, you can probably hit that pretty quick. maybe. I don't know. I had Comcast for a long time, and I was downloading tons and tons and tons of games up until, and watching tons of Netflix. I don't think I ever hit their data cap, but so be it. Netflix can make a deal with Comcast that, hey, our service isn't going to count towards data caps, right? So then, speaking of all of that, another point on internet infrastructure in the United States and the supported countries, internet speeds. What about the internet speeds? Okay, well, again, this isn't exclusive to Stadia. Internet speeds can become a problem, but anybody that it's just mind-boggling that people think that it's going to take this huge amount of extra bandwidth to stream video games. Like, no one questions it on Netflix. No one questions it on Hulu. No one questions it on Twitch. No one questions it on YouTube. Now, there are probably some people that have low-quality internet that have to watch those streams and that content in low quality. It's not a Stadia problem, right? This is just another internet service. So be it. So then they might not be a customer, right? Or they're going to get lower streaming, resolution, right? If they decide that, hey, the convenience outweighs, and that's the other piece. If the convenience outweighs, the cost of physical media, in quotes at this point, and buying hardware at this point, maybe people take that degradation in quality, but that's really up to them, right? Like, again, I don't understand the outrage over it. Like, data speeds are not a problem exclusive to Stadia. Like, if you can stream a 4K 60 frames per second movie, now I get it. Netflix can buffer. There's compression, decompression methods that are probably in play that maybe don't work quite as well on video games, because you are passing data back, control data back to Google in this instance, or the cloud, right? So there's a latency concern if you have to compress, decompress, so on and so forth. But it's Google, right? I'm sure Google has thought of these things. A lot of people played Assassin's Creed. A lot of people played the Assassin's Creed game when Google kind of demoed the service. And everybody that I've talked to that had a chance to use it, I didn't. But everybody that I've talked to that had a chance to use it came away quite surprised. Like, I'm not going to play every game there. It may not even be a service for me, a lot of them said. But I can see the value in it, right? And this comes back to gamers. They can't just let something go and say, this service might not be for me, but I can see where it has its appeal, right? Not every service and every game and every peripheral and every system and every piece of fucking hardware, not everything that comes out is for every single gamer. It's just not, right? So there we are. I get it. I don't get it. I can understand the questions and concerns, but like, nobody's bitching or complaining about these things and screaming about Netflix, right? Latency, again, even latency. Okay, maybe latency is less than your direct connection to your PC. There's been some numbers that have come out. I need to wait to play it to really see, because the numbers that have come out kind of show that maybe latency isn't as big of an issue in comparison to consoles as we think it is. But the conversations I've heard about trying to do like Doom on it have seemed like you can definitely tell there's latency, right? Which is fine. The good news is, if latency is that big of an issue to you, there are other ways that you can play those games. There are other ways you can play the games. But that doesn't mean that someone that doesn't want to, like, if you're so hard up on latency and that's why you're PC gamer, hardcore PC gamer, I have a probably a $2,500 rig that I'm recording on right now. Then you don't need to buy Doom on the service. But that doesn't mean, my uncle, who's not going to buy a $2,500 PC and probably isn't going to buy a $500 console, but hey, he still likes Doom. That doesn't mean that he wouldn't maybe be a potential customer of this service. And now customer is tough to define right now because we don't have pricing, which I'll get to momentarily. Right? So here's the other thing. Controller gets announced. This part's absurd to me. A utility patent gets released about the controller, and everybody starts looking at the utility patent as if that's how the controller is going to look. Now, it was pretty similar in the fact that, hey, there's a left and right nub that you hold on to, and there's a D-pad, and there's 4 buttons, blah, 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 blah. I don't care if anybody that says it looks close is lying. Saying the Google controller looks close to the patent is like saying it looks close to the PS4 controller and the PS3, blah, 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 because they share some of the same buttons and features. It's not close. Right? The controller looks fine to me. It's a controller that, again, for gamers that have 78 controllers in their houses and 47 systems and blah, 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 that maybe this isn't a service for them. But again, somebody that doesn't might go, well, shit, I want to do this Google thing. I want to do this streaming thing and maybe just a cloud thing, right? Just in quotes. Oh, I can just go grab a Google controller for $60. Nice. I'm going to grab that controller and I'm squared away. Again, not everybody has 78 controllers in their houses. So that brings us to pricing model. What is going to make a customer? Actually, I want to jump back to the controller one thing. Here's the key. Here's another piece of the controller that ties into the latency and also to the fact that before I get into pricing models, that maybe Google has thought of things and have figured out problems that we haven't even thought of yet because they're fucking Google. That doesn't mean everything Google does is great, right? Companies are off base all the time, but from a technology standpoint, I'm going to trust Google in a lot of these scenarios. So in order to reduce latency, I'm assuming their controller connects to Wi-Fi, which removes one piece of hardware from the chain of having to go controller to your device, from your device to the server, from the server back to your device, and then repeat that process, so on and so forth. The controller is connecting to your Wi-Fi that's connected to the server. Your TV is connected to the Wi-Fi that's connected to the server. It's a direct connection in to manipulate the gaming that's going on in the cloud. It's brilliant. I never even would have crossed my mind. Google thought of it. It's a great idea. Okay? Which also makes me think we haven't even seen it yet, but it's probably not going to be perfect on day one. Neither is any technology. If you told me today, 5-10 years ago, that I was going to not have barely any physical movies in my house, not have any physical CDs, I'd be like, you're crazy. I'm not going to give that up. But I did, because it's convenient. I've given up most games in physical form, for that matter, because of how convenient it is. Now they're located on my system, but locally, I'm not streaming them, so I still have some sense of ownership there. But, I would have thought you were crazy, right? That could be the same thing here. We don't know, but like this, everybody's so reactive and looking backwards that I still have yet to hear anybody but go talk about the future, how great this could potentially be moving forward. Like, look, I'm not thrilled. I'm a big PC guy. I'm not thrilled every couple years when I go spend another $2,500 on a new PC. I don't have to. It's a hobby and I have the budget for it, so I do it. I'd rather not. If I could use that $2,600 for something else, I would rather do that if I could still get 95% of the same game performance out of the cloud. Maybe it's not 95%, but someday it will be, right? So anyway, that brings us to pricing models. This is the other piece of it. Everybody keeps talking about pricing models with like this thought that the pricing model can't be any different than anything we know about, right? So the option one I always hear is you're just going to buy games direct, $60. Okay, that might be an option, We don't know if they'll be $60. We have no idea. We don't know if they'll be $80. We don't know if they'll be $20. We have no idea. But direct purchase is certainly an option. Then option 2 that stands up is it's going to be a subscription service. Yeah. Could be. We don't know. They didn't announce it. But hey, let's all speculate and then get angry about it. Could be a subscription service. Then people start speculating on price. Well, could be $15 a month. Could be $40 a month. Who knows, right? Could be an option 3. Could be a combination of the two. Could be an option 4. Let's loop in television subscription services. YouTube's already doing television subscription services through YouTube TV. I think there's different tiered packages on YouTube. I know there is on Hulu, right? I want HBO. I got to pay more. You want Ubisoft games? Maybe you find value and you pay a little bit more. I don't know what the pricing model is going to be. Right? And out of the gate, if I have hardware, like next generation, I'm still going to have my PC. I'm still going to buy whatever the next PlayStation hardware is. I will. And even having my PC, I'll most likely still buy whatever piece of hardware Microsoft puts out. Even though they're kind of going hardware agnostic, if they put out another powerful box, even though I don't need it, I'll probably still buy that too. Right? So that means that I'm probably not even a Stadia customer at this point. But once these things start to pick up, once the technology starts to get there, we've already seen people start to bounce off physical media in a way. You can expect the same transition for hardware. Once people start to migrate off the hardware a little bit and say, hey, wow, there's really a value proposition here for me, whatever that might be. Hey, I'm going to sell my system. Right? But speculating on pricing models and then getting upset about it, there's no point. There's literally no point to do that at this stage, right? I think the conversation is good. How are they going to do it? But until they announce it, there's nothing to react to here, right? We have the technology to react to, But then this leads to this larger conversation of, well, how do the devs get paid? How are the devs going to make money? How are the publishers going to make money? Well, it's a funny conversation to come up because devs and publishers have been trying to get rid of physical media for years now. And now they're getting rid of physical media. And everyone's like, how are the devs going to get paid? I don't know. I'm sure they figured it the fuck out, though. Right? EA, let's go down the list. EA has their own subscription model. A couple of them, actually, which is great. PlayStation has a subscription model via streaming. Xbox has a subscription model. Sony, again, has, getting free games. Microsoft has free games. EA has free games, right? We've already seen this, and we've already seen developers jump on board with it. Like, I don't understand. Like, now everybody's trying to use this argument about how are the devs going to get paid when devs and publishers have been pretty vocal for the last 3 to 5 years that physical media and used sales are hurting their business. And now we're going to say, how do the devs get paid? I don't fucking know. It's not up to me to figure that out. I'm not even going to argue about it. Who cares? Obviously, there's so much money in games, they'll figure it out. It's not even worth the conversation, in my opinion, at this point. So here's the big one. Here's the elephant in the motherfucking room. And this is what it comes down to for everybody. I don't think anybody's really even concerned about those things that I mentioned. I don't. I think that what people are really afraid of is ownership. I don't own my games. Well, the truth is you haven't owned your games for a while now. Because the game that ships on disc is never the game that requires the patch. Day one, always a patch. Is it frustrating? Yeah. Do I love it? No. But I'll tell you what, streaming eliminates the, hey, here's a 40 gig patch to download. Right? Hey, here's a system update to download. For what? So I can own, the idea of game ownership is, starting to lose it. Like, I've got tons and tons of games all the way up through the PS3. I've just gotten to the point, and this is me. I've gotten to the point, though, where I guess I just don't care about owning my games anymore because I know, like, I'm just not that caught up in going 30 years from now, I better have a way to play X game. Right? I'll use an example. Like, I didn't like Red Dead Redemption 2, but let me use Red Dead Redemption 1. And pretend it's Red Dead Redemption 2 or something. Or your favorite game. I just, 20 years from now, I think there's going to be, well, let me say this first. I think we're going to see less cases of not being able to play things in the future unless there's some huge licensing issues that come about. But B, I just don't forecast that I'm going to be like, oh, Red Dead Redemption 1's my favorite game of all time. I need to be able to play it today. Like, all right, I can't, if I can't play it, I'll be like, fuck, I can't play it. I'll have to play something else. Is that shitty? Yeah, maybe. But I think like if there's a market for it, they'll figure it out. I don't have a concern there, right? And it's just back to this like materialistic ass gamers. Gamers are the most maybe the vocal minority because I have cousins. So I'm 36. I've got gamer cousins in their like, late teens and 20s, right? Even late 20s right now. None of them give a shit about the ownership of any of these things. None of them. Like the only collectors and people I collect know are like my age and older, right? Like the issue all of us 30, 40-year-olds are bringing up about ownership, that's not an issue for those people in their teens and 20s right now. It's just not. And if it is, well, then it's not a service for you right now. Again, back to that. Like, I want to own what I pay for. Okay, well, then go buy a fucking car or something. Go buy a vinyl album or something. I don't know what to tell you, but like, don't buy the game at all. I don't know what to say here other than like, that's not how it's going to work, people. But it's not like tomorrow you can't go fake own your physical copies of games. I just went and got MLB The Show physical today. There's going to be a huge patch. If I go put that game in 25 years from now, it's a different game than I was used to playing. Right? It just doesn't bother me. There's so many decades of gaming that we can still collect. I just don't think like people are going to be as nostalgic for these games. Let me put it this way. The people that I think would be nostalgic for these games are at the age where I don't think they're going to care to be nostalgic for these games. Like I can tell you right now, I'm never going to be nostalgic for this generation of games because I didn't grow up with it. And the people that did grow up with it don't, for the most part, don't even have that bug in them that they need to own everything, right? It doesn't matter to me. It's just not everything is for every single person, right? It doesn't bug me that much. So, I mean, my larger point is I hear the questions and concerns, but part of it is just like, it's all speculation. I'm going to make something up to be angry about because I don't have anything really to be angry about right now. There's still physical options. There's still hardware. There's still PC gaming. This is just another avenue to go. So that said, the landscape has shifted. Google put it into the forefront, but we now know Microsoft is working on something. Sony already has PS Now out the door, which I've been a subscriber of for years. Google's announced, Steam's announced, Apple's announced. I'm drawing a blank here. I think there was another like Instagram or something fucking weird like announced. I forget, Snapchat or something. But anyway, long story short, Google isn't the only option. Quite honestly, if I look at the players in the game right now. Google can figure it out, but I think that technology is such a central space right now that if Google figures it out, I think other people are going to figure it out as well. I don't think Google's going to be the one that comes out on top. Here's why. They're the first out the door in this like big bang announcement. I still think Sony and Microsoft have the upper edge because they have a built-in audience, especially Sony. And Microsoft to some extent, but this last generation, man, put Sony in the forefront of everybody's gaming minds again. Worldwide. Microsoft has a nice niche in the United States, as well as some other countries like Europe and so on and so forth. But they're not big worldwide like the PlayStation is. It's just not. And with PS Now already there and Sony being able to figure out some of the technology, I think Sony's in a really great position. Not to mention, they have the audience and they have hardware they can still release, so gamers can move when they're ready. And they can start building in marketing plans and pricing plans to hopefully start to migrate these users from hardware to cloud, right? Throughout this next generation. I don't think we're going to see another generation of hardware after this. If this is going to, maybe, if this is like with how fast tech goes, if this is a 4 to 5 year generation, we might see another one. If it's a 7 or 8 year generation, I don't think we will. And with how things are streaming, I think it's going to turn in the spot where the hardware you buy this next generation, you're going to be able to use for quite some time. So that said, I think Sony's in a really good spot, even though they haven't said anything. Everyone's speculating that they don't have anything. They haven't said anything. So we don't know what they have. But I'm gonna give Sony the benefit of the doubt here that they've also thought about it, considering they have PS fucking Now. Okay? Microsoft, they're in a different position. Microsoft is acquiring studios. They need to get first party back on track. Microsoft has had a huge success, at least critically, with Game Pass. They've already come out and said they've figured out some of the streaming options with xCloud. And just like Sony, they have hardware that they have a built-in customer base that they can migrate people to. Oh, and by the fucking way, there's what? 700 million Windows 10 installs or something like that? Let me see. Right, so you already, 700 million Windows 10 installs. And that stat was from October 1st, 2018. So now Microsoft has 700 million PCs they can stream to. They've got their Xboxes they can stream to. They've got Game Pass because they still want to support download subscriptions. Like, Microsoft's in another huge position. Like, if I say walking into next gen, even though Sony got out of the gate first with the streaming, I think Microsoft is in the driver's seat because of they're in the cloud with Microsoft Azure, however your choice of saying it. They have hardware, the ability to still release hardware. They have the Windows side of it. That's fucking gigantic because they're on every PC in the world. Right? That's a huge win for them. Sony, and let me say, because I know people are probably screaming, well, Google can do all that stuff too. They can. But again, the key here is these two, and maybe they're different audiences, but these two people already have the gaming audience to migrate. Right? So Sony, the same thing. They have a great first party studios. They have hardware that they can still migrate people to cloud and make value prop there. They already have a service out, right? They don't have maybe some of the cachet of a cloud service like Azure, like Microsoft does. They don't have Game Pass to the extent with PS Now, but they're already streaming. They're already doing it and doing it well. It's not perfect, but they're doing it well, right? And then you have Google. And Google, I think, probably appeals to a different audience. Maybe the gamer that doesn't have any hardware right now, right? You know, maybe it's maybe they're fighting for a different customer. I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. But Google, they're technically on every PC. They also have a huge market share of phones. They're going to be able to release an app on Apple, I'm assuming. Which is a huge, huge, huge win for them. They have Google Fiber. They have their own phone service, right? Like, think about it. People complaining about internet infrastructure. If Google can use this to drive Google Fiber into more markets, if Google can use this to, maybe they get to 5G first and they get people to, the Google cell phone service, and it's their service is, I forgot the name of it, and start giving discounts and different things. Google can own that space. Plus they have YouTube. I heard someone the other day say, well, I just never thought of all the things Google can do. Like, well, that's an indictment on you covering games, right? So all of them have this advantage, right? And then fourth, you got Steam coming back to the board. Steam, 10, 15 days ago announced that they want to turn all Steam Link boxes into streaming boxes. Now, they already had a service, but and there's other ways to stream, like to your Steam Link. I get it. But there's also, but at the same time, all these, Steam is in every house. If Steam can somehow find a great way to say, you've got Steam on your PC, you own these games, and now you can access all of these games on all of the devices as well. Like, if Steam comes to the game and tells me that my 400 game Steam library, I can now play on my phone, on my TVs, which I can kind of do anyway, on my PC, wherever I'm at. Steam's Valve technically. Valve has another leg up there because they already have a built-in base. I mean, that could put Valve, everyone's pissed off at Epic. Well, Steam still has all the customers right now in a lot of ways outside of that big Fortnite group and, the exclusives Epic has. This is an exciting time to be in games. This is an exciting kind of, shift in technology that we're looking at. It doesn't mean it needs to be perfect today or tomorrow or when it releases. But I just can't get over, and and this is coming from like Mr. Negativity. I just can't get over like just sheer hate over even the idea of it, and just the response that everybody comes at. It's like, guys, gals, you don't have to buy it right away. You may not have to buy it in the future. We don't know. We might live in a future where it's okay to have hardware in your house and also have streaming options. Like if it goes the way of Netflix and, Google Music or, Spotify or something like that. Yeah, maybe you're going to go, I don't even want that. And then just, by the way of where the customers are, that stuff becomes ancient. But we also live in a world where we still have cars, trains, semis, trucks, so on and so forth. Great, it's apples to oranges, but there might be a future in the sake of games where both remain relevant for the foreseeable future, And we're all, to be clear though, we're already past, games are shipped complete on disk. It's a thing of the past. So all of these things about internet infrastructure, data caps, internet speeds, net neutrality, latency, controller, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff's a problem today. So, I think what gamers are most afraid of is losing ownership, which ownership of games in 2019 isn't real anyway, right? Does that suck? Maybe. I don't know. It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers other people, I guess. But so there we are. That's my opinion. I'm sure I have some things I'm missing that I probably want to talk about, but it just doesn't bother me that much yet. I'll wait to see as we get closer. I'm sure Google's going to hit E3 with maybe some game announcements. I'm sure that Microsoft's going to have more things. And man, I'll wait till E3. Sony pulled out at E3. Who knows? Maybe Sony comes to the board before E3. None of us know anything, but I'll wait till I have more information to really start to shit on it. I will say this, I'm probably not a customer right away. Doesn't mean I'm not excited to see where this thing goes. Doesn't mean that I don't see the benefits of it. And the criticisms that I've heard, I just think they're kind of, the criticisms I've heard aren't exclusive to Stadia, and so I'm just not going to get that upset about it right now. So anyway. So there it is. That's episode 52. Everyone had an opinion. I wanted to have one as well. And so that one's in the books. Thanks everyone for listening. And this will auto post to Twitter, but I probably won't be reading the comments. But see y'all later. See ya.